Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975 by posting at least 48 hours in advance a notice on the bulletin board in the Stevenson and Churchill schools, a notice to the Township Clerk, and a notice to the Passaic Herald, the Herald News, and the Progress. Please stand for the pledge. Would the students like to start us off?
Here. Mr. Egan. Here. Ms. Jandoli. Here. Mr. DePascal.
Here.
Mr. Frida.
Here. Okay, we'll open up the meeting to public comments on the agenda items only. If there's any comments about the agenda, this is an opportunity to come forward. Leanne, is there a place just for later on to sign in? Okay, on the desk. I will mention that later. Okay, I believe we have a presentation.
And I'm Marissa Cowdy-Metropolo. We have been taking on the news this year, and these are our friends here.
We get together twice a month with the students to record and practice and then shoot the news.
So stay tuned, they're going to tell you all the information you need to know.
Hi, I'm Patrick. And I'm Michael. And I'm Adriana. And I'm Ava. And I'm Daniela. Welcome to Stevenson School News Network. Adriana, did you notice the green screen when you went to film? I did. I made sure I didn't wear green. That's right. You shouldn't wear green because you will blend in with the backdrop. The green screen allows Mr. Harvey to add customized backdrops based on our news report. Mr. Harvey is one of the technology helpers at our school. Mr. Harvey also films us and puts the news videos together. He has to put all the different clips together into one video and make sure it all goes smoothly. He gives us a hand signal to show us when it's time to film. Miss Torrenter and Miss Cowdy-Metropolo give us our scripts and help us practice. They make sure we smile before we start and to look up between our paragraphs. Some of us even memorize our scripts. We report on all types of things. My favorite is Stevenson Updates. That's where we find out what's going on in each grade level or about cool things happening in Stevenson. Some students are now researching the weather and coming up with their own activities for it. Stay tuned later this month for those reports. We also interview our special teachers. This is a great time to learn more about our favorite teachers. We also talk about different current events that are happening in the world. Some of our special reports have been about astronauts, the Olympics, and more. The news is a really fun way to learn about many different things. Ava. Happy March, Adriana. Crazy that it is already March 11th. I know, March is already flying by, but this is our first time filming the news this month. Right? Next week is already St. Patrick's Day. Now stay tuned for our weather report with Patrick.
Hi, I'm Patrick, your weather reporter. I hope everyone has been enjoying this gorgeous spring weather we have been having. As always, the weather is subject to change at any time. I'm just the weather reporter, not the actual meteorologist. A meteorologist is an expert that studies the weather. Today is Friday, March 11th. Today's weather is cloudy. We should see some afternoon showers. Today's high is 53 degrees. We are really hoping the rain holds off so we can have recess outdoors. Saturday, March 12th, we should be seeing more showers. We are hoping the rain clears up so we can get outside to enjoy the warm weather. Saturday, we'll have a high of 51 degrees. If it does rain, there are tons of fun activities to do with your family inside, like play board games and watch a really good movie. Space Jam is one of my favorites. Sunday, expect the temperature to get a bit chillier. We should see a high of 46 degrees, but the sun should be out and shining. Enjoy the sunny Sunday weather, and we hope you can get outside and play with your friends or go to the park. Have a great weekend, and back to you, Ava and Adriana.
I really don't mind the rain. It makes for a great movie watching weather, too, but I really prefer the sun. Stay tuned for some Stevenson current events with Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael. Today I want to talk about some Stevenson current events. Last week was Read Across America Week, National Read Across America Day, a nationwide reading celebration that takes place every year on March 2nd, which is Dr. Seuss's birthday. Stevenson celebrated Read Across America Week in many different ways. Teachers created fun activities for students to participate in during their classes, and each grade was able to get together in the gym and read their favorite books on Wednesday, which is Dr. Seuss's birthday. To celebrate his birthday and his best books, last week students participated by dressing up to match Dr. Seuss's books each day. Monday was wear your favorite socks for Socks and the Fox. Tuesday was wear red, white, and black for the Cat in the Hat. Wednesday was Wacky or Clothes Day for Wacky Wednesday. Thursday, students wore a shirt with a number on it for 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. And last week on Friday, students wore green for the green as in ham. That's all for Stevenson's current events. Back to you, Adriana.
Read Across America Week was really so much fun. Now we have a special interview with Daniela. Please stay tuned to see who Daniela interviewed.
Hi, I'm Daniela, and this is Mr. Silvestri. Here's our new music teacher. How are you today, Mr. Silvestri?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. How do you like working in Fairfield?
I love working in Fairfield and giving the kids an opportunity to play a bunch of different instruments.
Fairfield is an awesome town. What inspired you to be a music teacher?
I had a lot of great music teachers growing up, and so I wanted to share that experience with other students.
That's really nice. What instrument do you play?
I play a total of 27 instruments, but my main instrument is piano and voice.
Wow, I really like to learn how to play the piano. How long have you been playing instruments for, and what is your favorite?
I played the piano for 22 years, and I would say voice and piano are my favorites. The other one I've only been doing a couple of years.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on to SSN News today, Mr. Silvestri. Back to the newsroom.
Mrs. Silvestri is awesome. I'm really
minutes.
Oh, okay, no problem. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you so much, students. It was fantastic. Good job, guys. At this point, if students and parents or students want to leave, it's okay. You know, okay, if anybody wants to move up, we don't bite. All right, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Joe.
Thank you. Okay, so the first item is personnel for non-certificated staff. We have 2 retirements. The recommendation is to accept the letters of retirement for Barbara Rominski, registered nurse, effective June 30th of 2022, with regrets, best wishes, and appreciation for her 13 years of service to the students and staff. And we also are looking to accept the letter of retirement from Judy Miller, accounts payable, effective June 30th, 2022, with regrets, best wishes, and appreciation for her over 14 years of service to the students and staff. Substitutes, the recommendation is to approve the listed substitutes. And I'd also like to do the personnel item on the addendum. The recommendation is to approve Lainey Kadushin as an 11-month Stevenson School Secretary at a prorated rate starting May 1st of 2022. And that's it for personnel.
Second. Discussion? Brian. The discussion is just to thank Barbara and Judy for all their years here, and it's great to see that they're able to retire and live the next chapter of their lives, but it's sad for the district to lose them, but we wish them the best.
Thank you.
Mr. Diddick?
Yes.
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Ms. Candoli?
Yes.
Mr. DePascal?
Yes.
And Mr. Frida?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, under curriculum and program, the first recommendation is to approve the summer literacy program and the 6 staff members for 20 days at 4.5 hours per day at a rate of $65.10 per hour. And B, the recommendation is to approve the summer 2022 program outline as listed below. C, professional development workshops, to approve the attendance at the following workshops as listed. And that's it for curriculum and program recommendations.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Diddick?
Yes.
Mr. Egan?
Yes.
Ms. Candoli?
Yes.
Mr. DePascal?
Yes.
And Mr. Frida?
Yes.
Thank you. Under policy, the first recommendation is to approve the first reading of the following policies and regulations as revised, new, or abolished. And B, the recommendation is to approve the revised job description for guidance counselor and a new job description for board certified behavior analyst effective for the 21-22 school year.
Motion. Second.
Mr. Diddick?
Yes.
Mr. Egan?
Yes.
Ms. Candoli?
Yes.
Mr. DePascal?
Yes.
And Mr. Frida?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, and the last item is to resubmit a revised DPR, the district performance reviews for instruction and program only to the Commissioner of, for approval for to the Commissioner of Education.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes.
Susan, I don't need to put you on the spot, but can you just explain what this QSAC really means, how often we do that, and just so that everyone understands what
It's a very long process, but we have to, there's all different types of DPRs and district performances, so sometimes it's governance, curriculum, personnel. So we have to show that we're doing everything we're supposed to be doing, finance as well. We submit it to the county so that they can look at our paperwork, but they also come on site, they check out the facilities to make sure everything is in place. They pull random records just to make sure that the district is operating efficiently and effectively. So the curriculum, the instruction and program that we submitted the wrong form. So there was 2 different forms, one's for special ed districts and ours is a public school district, so we just had to resubmit that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Diddick?
Yes.
Mr. Egan?
Yes.
Ms. Chandler?
Yes.
Mr. DePascal?
Yes.
And Mr. Guerrero?
Yes.
Next, for the business office, we have the February 15 minutes. We also have the bills claims list as well as the February 15th, February 28th, and March 15th payroll. We have the transfer of funds for the month of January, the secretary report for the month of January as well. A change to committee appointments for the township liaison. We have a building use application for the Fairfield Rec Department, and award of contract to mobile lease modular space. We also have a recommendation to adopt the 22-23 tentative budget. A recommendation to establish the maximum travel expenditure limit. Then we have the travel and related expense reimbursements for the upcoming school year. The maximum professional services. A recommendation for an updated demographic study. And also the acquisition and installation of the temporary classroom units. Letter N on page 11 is the appointment of special counsel. O is a recommendation to engage the services of Phoenix Advisors. And finally, the approval for the temporary classroom units at Winston Churchill. This was on the February agenda. However, it was contingent upon architect fee proposal, so this is just a repeat of the same resolution that was on the April agenda, now that we have the fee proposals.
Second discussion. Tonight's tentative budget approval, when is the final budget approval?
In April, we'll have a public hearing, so at the next board meeting, we'll have a public hearing.
Right, so tonight's budget, tonight is the tentative budget.
April 28th.
April 28th would be the April meeting where we do a presentation and approve the final budget.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Also, I got a quick question. The demographic study, they were proposing, or their ETA to have that completed by,
We want to have that done by the end of the school year,
okay.
so that's the goal.
I have a question about the demographic study. Is that for referendum purposes?
I'm
Is that
sorry?
what it's for? Is that for referendum purposes?
Referendum, correct. So we had one done some time ago, but as you know, there has been some construction. We've experienced an increase in enrollment, so this will be a more accurate, up-to-date demographic study from the last one we had done.
Okay, and then actually, my other question is for item H for the adoption of the tentative budget. When I turn the page, there's some items that are laid out, such as the capital project. Is that included in the yay or nay for H, or is that, like a separate, should that have been a separate number?
It's part of H, and it is included in the budget. So it's part of H.
Okay,
It's part of H.
okay.
I'll do the roll call. Any more questions?
Am I first?
Mr. Diddick.
I'm gonna go number by number, because they're not all gonna be yes. So, A is a yes, B is a yes, C is a yes, D is a yes, E is a yes, F is a yes, G is a no, H, because it includes that capital project, is a no, I is a yes, J is a yes, K is a yes, I is a yes, I'm sorry, L is a yes, M is a no, N is a yes, O is a no, and P is a no.
Okay, so that's letter G, H, N, O,
Yeah, the no's are gonna be basically anything to do with trailers, so it's gonna be G, H because of the capital project, M, O, and P.
I'm sorry, that was M as in Mary?
Correct.
Okay, and the letter O and the
O,
letter P.
O is in ocean, P is in pop.
Got it. Mr. Egan,
Yes to all.
Ms. Jandoli,
Yes to all.
Mr. Di Pascal,
Yes.
and Mr. Frida.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Anything else in here? Anything else? That's it for business? Okay.
That's it, yes, sorry.
Sorry. Do we have any old business to discuss? Anything under new business? Committee reports?
Yes, the Finance Committee met with the business administrator and the superintendent to review the tentative budget. That meeting was detailed in minutes given to board members that were not in attendance. And so far we have a pretty good tentative budget.
Anything else? Andrew?
We met with special ed, personnel, finance, and policy. I guess the only one, Brian went over finance policy. We saw all the policies that we readjusted, so I had the pleasure of reading every single one of them and approving them. And they're all on the website, right?
They will be.
They will be.
The old ones are, the
Yes,
revised,
the revised ones will be out.
one since the second reading.
Let's read them.
No, these will be approved the second time. That's when they get adopted.
That's it.
Any other committee reports? All right, we'll go ahead and open up the portion of the meeting for public comments on non-agenda items. If there's anything, comment or questions, the sign-up sheet is on the desk. When you come to the microphone, you just need to state first and last name, comment, question. We're going to take it all down. Once everybody has an opportunity to ask their questions or comments, we'll go ahead and answer, and then we'll allow for another opportunity to come up and ask the follow-ups. Well, the address is there. Just when you come up, we just need first and last name. Anyone?
Good evening. Jill Taka, 3 Cold Street. So I stand today just to speak on behalf of other parents, hopefully as an educator and a lifelong resident of Fairfield today. So before I ask my questions, I just want to have a quick statement if you don't mind. So my husband and I chose to raise our children here with great confidence that they would receive a quality education and be part of a community that exhibits high standards, just as my siblings and I had. So my intention today is to stand before the board and the community, and tonight is to address the issue of collaboration and unity for the sake of the best education for the children of Fairfield. It seems the distribution of information, questions, and discussions have not been clear for all stakeholders. Parents, out of frustration, are leaning towards communicating concerns, fears, questions via social media. The communication and the transparency of information that drives decision-making in our schools is lacking. As an educator myself, I know that educational leaders need to provide clear and concise rationale to all the stakeholders that are involved for all the decisions that are made. Providing stakeholders and the community members with justification on what decisions are or are not made helps to establish that support and credibility that we all stand to have. With the decision to move to subscription busing, there was a limited rationale and parent involvement. We were kind of told that the decision had been made, and then the surveys and everything started to come out. Both the decision-making process and the transparency in decision-making require effective communication between stakeholders and school and district leaders. Parents and community members need to be informed, but they need to show up to the board meetings, read the literature that is provided, and prepare to ask questions of their elected officials. The board needs to be prepared to answer those questions. They need to provide literature to support the decision-making and hear the voices of the community that elected them. Schools are successful when educators, parents, and the community members work together. Moving forward, the focus should be strong and supportive relationship building between all stakeholders to focus on the needs of all children and their education while they move through the Fairfield public school system. So tonight I asked just to start with subscription busing, because I know there's a lot of things that are out in the community being discussed, just from being a parent, being on soccer fields, being in carpools. So in order to understand first the rationale behind the subscription busing and where you guys are in that point now. So here are some of the questions that I have maybe heard myself or have myself, most importantly. The anticipated figures that the district would be able to use elsewhere prior to their parent form going out, what we're anticipating that money, that funding be as a savings for the school when the parents are paying for the subscription. After the form is collected, was that anticipated fund met? Where do you intend to spend that money that now is saved from not paying for this dressing? Where do you expect to allocate that to? Second, most importantly, is I know that there are hazardous busing policies that can be established with the police department. And I know that we don't have crossing guards now, we don't have sidewalks for all walking routes. I know that as being offered subscription busing, if we don't pay, then is the intent that we're supposed to drive our children, because if they are to walk, I would like to know the route that my child should take. We live on Cold Street, just about 2 miles from here. She would have to cross, either take Fairfield Road all the way down to Churchill. She would either have to come across Passaic Ave and then down New Dutch Lane. So I'm assuming that would be really very safe for her. My even concern is for Stevenson school kids who live close by. There's no sidewalks on Mill Road going up to the school. Those children would be walking to school while the buses and parents would be dropping off. Just doesn't seem safe to me. So those are just some of the questions that I have for you. You'll take your time in letting us know, and I appreciate the time.
Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the session. We'll be the answers we can. There may be some answers that we may not have right now, but we will definitely follow up with them. Communication, transparency out there. This is something that we've been discussing over a few meetings, so it's not like we just came out last meeting and said this is happening. There's been discussions going back quite a few months, so I just want to make sure that it's clear that it wasn't a decision that was made last meeting and then we sent out the forms and said, hey everybody, this is what's happening, please respond back to these surveys. Reason behind subscription busing, and you say we want what's best for all students. Unfortunately, some of these decisions are real difficult. We're all residents of Fairfield. Some have students that are going to be affected by this directly. So when we're making these decisions as a board and we're discussing them, we do look at what's best for all the students. We don't look at what's best for 10 students and it's going to negatively affect 690. So it's the decision is always what's best for everybody and what's going to be the best for all the students and the education that they receive here in Fairfield. I too, as you know, I'm a long-time resident here, grew up in Fairfield, went through the system. Changes occur. Unfortunately, sometimes some of these changes aren't the best changes, but we try to do the best we can. The question is always asked, how much are we saving? It's not really a matter of saving, because you're not really saving your budget, and it's a budget. It's what you're doing is reallocating those monies toward educational type of programs or things that have been cut. In the last couple meetings, Mr. Santana was here, and he kind of gave an example on how classroom supplies have been cut from, I think, and don't quote me, maybe unless I have it, I think 70,000 to about 30,000, and that's per classroom. So we're hoping to put some of that money back into the supplies for the classroom, and then there's other funding that goes back into the budget. For instance, we've had to cut back on clubs.
70,000 to 30,000, not per classroom.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, which one teaches math will be in class tomorrow? As for other things that will be going back to, we've had to cut back on some clubs in the past and things of that nature, so we're hoping to reintroduce those clubs, which is beneficial to all students. It opens up opportunities for all students. We saw a presentation this evening. That's fantastic that we're able to do things like that, so we're hoping to be able to fund those programs again. And I'm sure, Dr. Cicatelli, if there's anything else that you can add about reallocating of funding, if there's anything specific, or if my general statement about it goes back into the programs.
Right, well, I think we also have to look at what our bus is going to cost before we even decide if there's going to be anything that we can reallocate, because we are subsidizing the bus, so that's important to know.
Right, that's the other thing. Oh, go ahead.
So just to touch on a couple of things, first and foremost, in regards to communication with the community, having an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old myself, I wasn't aware that back in 2017, the busing issue was a topic, and it was brought up in multiple board meetings, but not having children in the district or children old enough to follow what's going on in the Board of Ed, it was kind of news to me as well as a new board member that this has been a topic of conversation for years. So it's not like the transparency in regards to busing and the cost for busing is something that we're just addressing in 2020. It's been 2017, 2018, 2019, 20, 21, 22. We're acting on it. So I think I would implore all the the parents of younger children in the district to keep in mind that if you're only following the board over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, you wouldn't know that busing has been an issue for some time. So I just wanted to touch on that and to touch on the allocation of funds. It's a very open-ended question, because as we currently speak, with our busing companies, the projected increase from this calendar year to next calendar year is roughly 30%. So with the cost of fuel, driver shortages, which means all the drivers are getting paid more money, the cost per child has gone from, or is estimated to go from 185 per bus. Yeah, 185 to 190 to 250 per day. So it's hard to sit here and give you an exact answer on where the money's going, because at this point, until we lock in a contract, we don't even know what that number is going to be. And when we initially stated a couple meetings ago at our informational meeting about subscription busing, we threw out a number that I think we were budgeting and allocating some of our budget from, and I think we came in north of that, substantially north of that. We thought that we would only allocate $250,000, but right now we are $380,000. That's to keep the cost of the subscription busing to what it is to the parents in the district now. So keep in mind, we're dealing with a lot of variable change, and unfortunately still, given the current state, it's subject to change again, until we lock in a contract, which we're in the process of. And that's the district's portion. So we were thinking 250, and we actually went to 380. So we allocated even more to keep subscription costs down since our first informational meeting to now.
You want to touch on the crossing guards?
Crossing guards, currently working on routes, and the board liaisons, myself and Mr. Egan, will be meeting with the administration in the coming days to discuss the crossing guards. and the police department and where they're needed and the safest way to get the kids to school, you know.
I know that usually it falls on the municipality, but if the municipality doesn't have the funds for that, then where does it come from?
Well, no one said the municipality doesn't have the funds for that.
No, I didn't say they didn't.
Yeah, so I don't want to assume that and make that,
No, I'm saying-
I don't want to make that a public statement in a public forum that the municipality doesn't have the funding, because that's not what we've been told. As a liaison that communicates with the administration, that's
I
not.
know the legislation reads that way, but again, I mean, we're talking doing this in September, so we are gonna have sidewalks and all that prepared by September, with we saw the bridge that's not built by the county, seems like a far-fetched goal, to be ready by September.
Again, the bridge is something that we're not prepared to comment on because it's not our project.
My son has to take a bridge. He's got to walk literally down 46. What about the sidewalk? That doesn't make any sense.
We're being told it'll be done by then, so we can plan for that.
What about sidewalks on other streets, though, that don't have sidewalks? Is that going to be addressed? I know you're talking, you said crossing guards you're discussing, but
So from what I understand, and I could be wrong, probably going out there on a limb saying this, sidewalks are not a municipal responsibility, it's a homeowner responsibility.
like Little Falls Road and, is that correct?
Increase of the parents driving their kids to school.
Again, I don't want to give you information that I don't have. This will all be discussed when we meet with the administration.
If you could let us
So do you have numbers based on the?
Hold on one second, because this
Can't
is,
do more questions.
so, let me just finish up 1 second, and I'm gonna open it up again. Anybody else want to answer regarding Mrs. Tompkins' questions?
Yes, I guess, the only one thing is that the sidewalks have nothing to do with the Board of Ed. So if you have any questions about that, you should take that up with town.
Okay, at this point now, we'll go ahead and open it up for any follow-up questions. Same rules, you have to sign up, and then up here, just, and first and last page, please.
Cold Street. Jill's on there. So just based on Jill's question, as far as based on the form in the survey, what are the results and what are the findings of the amount of money that we will potentially get? What are the the school district will get based on the survey and the results of the survey? So
It's not the point where we're getting money. Currently, the current year's budget has about $440,000 allocated to this transportation issue.
No, for next year.
380.
No. The current year's budget that we're in, we're allocated, there's about $440,000 paying for busing.
correct.
In next year's budget, we have $380,000 paying for busing. Busing costs increased. The parent subscription is paying that increase from basically the 380, so a little bit of reduction from the 440 to the 380, plus the increase. So that's pretty much where the subscription costs come from. The difference between the 440 and the 380 was reallocated into other budget lines where the costs growth year over year exceeded our 2% budget growth. Does that help?
Just, well, based on right now, just even an estimated amount of money that the school district will make based on the amount of families that signed up with their deposit. Do we look like we're going to be in good shape if everybody on that form or survey submits their money? Do we look like we're in good shape, or are we still fall short? Are we over? How do we look based on those results?
It's not over or under, okay? We were anticipating a certain number, and I believe
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, so that's a really good
So
number.
360 families or 360 students?
Students, 360 students, plus, there's a group of students, somewhere between, let's say between 100 and 150, I'm not sure if I can give out the number, that are, eligible, what they call it, there are free and reduced group of students. So they're mandated to get busing. Right, and the group that's over 2 miles. So when you put those categories together, that's where that total comes in. So, and again, most of this is going to cover the increase in the cost of the busing.
So, okay. Right. And that's where I think my wife was talking about transparency is, I mean, if you have those numbers, why not say where we are at this point so that we could say, okay, it's going to something that is, we don't have, Board of Ed doesn't have, or the school district doesn't have right now. That's where I think the transparency lies, not in the information.
So unfortunately, and it's like I stated before, it's hard for us to be transparent without firm numbers. Now, I wholeheartedly agree, based upon current subscription numbers and who applied for busing, what does it equate to in regard to what's coming in? Not like Brian said, it's not surplus, obviously, because costs are going up. But we are very apprehensive, and I'm going to be as forthcoming as possible to give out information that is not set in stone, because when we do, we're crucified. So if we tell you it's $1 and it's 3, it's the board has an agenda and they're not being forthcoming. And I'm just being as honest as possible with the people that are here. So it's hard when the numbers are constantly changing and fluctuating to give, a set number, because as of now, there's 120 people that still haven't responded at all.
And the deadline was March 4th. Even after that deadline, we still had some 52 people that didn't respond, and that we still had to follow up on the deposit, remind them 1 time, remind them 2 times, remind them 3 times. So how can you get a concrete number when you're dealing with
I was one of them. We didn't get an initial email, and then, then we got the second one, so we almost assumed that we were, out.
So if I could take 1 second.
Yes.
So using this, I want to just transition to something, because this is very important, because we're talking these numbers, and as Mr. DePascal is saying, we don't want to state a number because we're not there yet based on, we're still out negotiating, we still have some people who haven't responded, and of course it's a tentative budget, so things move around. So with that stated, and parents here, everybody out who's watching this online, and share it with those, we do have, as you heard, 120 who did not complete the survey. We're going to put a deadline at Friday, I think noon, but there's going to be an email blast coming out from the superintendent tomorrow that if you do not respond with a deposit as of Friday, it's going to be too late. And at that point, because we do have to come up with a direct number, we have to go into the negotiations of the contract and say, this is what we need. We can't say, oh, we need this, and then 2 weeks later we need something else, because if we say we need 5 buses, they're going to, and they have 7, they're going to put those 2 buses out someplace else. We're not going to have any more buses left. So Friday, whatever time, I think noon or end of business day, you'll get the email tomorrow from the superintendent. It will be the final opportunity to subscribe to the busing if you're in that range of, that you need the busing.
So essentially, what you're saying is 3 things. The money will be going to busing, supplies, and clubs.
Yeah, and also, Evan, just to touch on a couple months ago when we had our first information meeting, and I think it's apparent to everybody, so much has changed in the economy since then.
Correct.
Yes, price has gone up, from $3 to, to $4.50 in that short amount of time. And unfortunately, all those costs are, we incurred them and we feel them as a district, especially with the transportation. So if our superintendent sends out an email, and out of that 120, another 60 say, you know what, I was waiting for this meeting, now I'm going to commit to the busing. Again, that changes everything. It changes the amount of buses we need. It changes the formula on what's coming in, what our overall cost is. So as much as we would like to answer some of these questions, there's really no way to give you a solid, hard answer. That's why, whatever the date is that the superintendent and the business administrator, share, that's it.
Exactly. The purpose of this is to get that ball rolling with the conversation between the community and the board, so I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I will sign it. Tracy Repla, 5 Scott Drive. I just, one statement that I think, Jill is my sister, so I just want to make one statement to clarify. I appreciate that the sidewalks are not your responsibility. I appreciate that some of these other things, crossing guards and all that, is not the board's responsibility. What I do think is it's offensive, right? Because I understand that you're not going to make the decision to put sidewalks there or not. I agree. Our children's safety is the most important thing. And that requires collaboration between the Board of Education, the Township of Fairfield, and the parents. So when you say it is not your responsibility, that is when you get parents dialed up and you get the emotion. And so I'm really offended by those types of statements. Instead of telling me it's not your problem, maybe you could sit back and say, let's work together. I agree, we should have a meeting with the Fairfield Police Department. We should talk with the community. We should talk with parents. How many parents are going to drive their children? Are they really going to take the bus or not? Are they going to back out after, maybe they pay and then they back out? Is it going to cause a major, issue with drop-off? COVID happened, we dropped our kids off, they were getting into school 15 to 20 minutes late because the line was backed up on Mill Road. So how are we addressing those things and how are we working through those challenges, right?
Okay, yeah. I totally understand where you're coming from, but I just want to reiterate what my previous statement that we are in the process, the liaisons are in the process of working with the town. So although, right, it was stated, I don't think it was Mr. Andoli, that it's not the board's responsibility for sidewalks, right? It's homeowners' responsibility. Doesn't mean that we don't have the children's safety as, an utmost concern. But again, to give you information before I sit with our current administration would just be falsely, speaking. So I just want you to know that, again, and I've stated this over and over again, I have 2 children in the district, in 2 different schools. And although I'm going to choose to, utilize the busing, I know more often than not, my particular one child will be exercising his right from time to time to walk to school. And I live, a mile and a half away on the border like the caucus. So, I want you to know that, please, we don't mean to be offensive and we don't mean to be disrespectful or get the parents, like you said, fighting again.
But that's what happens in social media. When you make statements like that are not full statements, they're just general, to bullets. They're like bullet points, right?
We get it.
That's what makes people get crazy, right? So I think if we can just talk about it in a way that says we are working together collaboratively and we understand the concerns of all these things, that's a better approach to the community than to say it's not our responsibility. And I understand what you're saying. You can't make statements before you know all the information, all that. I understand that. But I'm just saying in general, that's what gets people crazy. And then tonight we're going to go home and then Facebook and Instagram, all this stuff is going to be all blowing up because someone said it's not our responsibility. And so I just want to make sure we're moving forward in a way that we can work as a community and collaboratively.
Yeah. Tracy, I'd like to just add that after the last board meeting, we did the administration, meaning the principals, and Ms. Rios and myself, we met with the town. We also had our class 3 officers there, and then the chief of police was there, and we did talk to them about what we were looking at as far as patterns, traffic patterns, to address some of that. The town is aware that, we're concerned about sidewalks. They're concerned about sidewalks as well. We just haven't finalized the plan, but the ball is rolling right.
So see that?
Yes.
Right there? The fact that
They
we are
want to
making
be
the
on
plan.
my behalf.
Yeah, I know. I understand, but I'm saying that part of the information is important
Right,
when you make a statement, right? You need to give the other context
Right.
to why you're making that statement and what's going on. And then my last question is just, if we have a 3rd grader that may potentially be going to Churchill versus Stevenson, when you did the survey, did you account for those 3rd graders coming to Churchill? Did you account for them, you counted them for coming to Churchill?
Yes,
because if, does that change the survey results and how that's working, right?
What we did at the conference room.
be counted for tuition.
And just to clarify what I said, I didn't want it to be offensive. I just want, because if we say anything about sidewalks, we're gonna get, if we say that it's we're looking into it, or we're doing this, then everybody comes to us and says, what are we doing sidewalks? So I just want to mean that it's not part of our job description to work, to put in sidewalks. And yes, we're concerned about how they're gonna get there, but we don't want 12,000 questions on them.
And I use that as an example because, to be honest with you, busing is one thing, but that's how everything should work. We should be collaborative across all topics and all things, whether we're moving third grade, whether we're busing or not busing, whether there's academics, decisions being made for our children. All of this should be community involvement, and we should be working together in a triad, not behind closed doors and then just kind of giving information and thinking we're being informative, because that informative information gets people, all their minds going in 80 different directions.
That's why we appreciate you coming to the meeting and asking the questions.
Yeah, more people should know that, people are watching, more people should be here and voice their concerns.
Listen, just because we don't comment on social media, doesn't mean we don't see the sites.
Oh, I know you see it.
And none of them are here.
It's upsetting.
None of them are here.
No,
I publicly want to say that.
Yeah.
None of them are here.
Well, I mean, people are watching, they should come to the board meeting, and instead of going on social media and making statements that they don't know the facts about, right?
Thank you.
And that's why we're here, because we want to make sure we are having an open dialogue and showing the right way to do
And
this.
we appreciate what you know.
Just
Thank
one thing you mentioned about the discussion on busing started, a while back. You same thing like you brought up the third grade moving, right? So that discussion actually started pre-referendum. So again, if people are joining the meetings, listening to the meetings, coming to the meetings, that discussion about moving the grade was a precursor to the referendum discussion. So again, it's not something that happened last week, last month.
No,
or even,
I also have a sister, I
I'm
see
just saying,
kids in high school, we've
even
been in
last
this
year.
whole district, and
No, I'm
she didn't know
just
anything
using
about the
the
busing or
opportunity.
any of the other
No,
kids, so.
I'm not
I would
blaming
say-
you or anything, just using the opportunity, that you brought it up fresh in my mind. So I'm saying the same situation as Anthony pointed out with the busing, it's not something that just came up.
No, people need to show up, I agree. Not that you need to hear from my other sister, but I'm just saying, there's a lot of us, and you've been very involved, and I think that, saying that it's been talked about, yes, it's been talked about at a couple meetings and things like that, and to say it's been since 2017, I don't, this is, the first I was hearing about it is when it started to come out in the last 2 to 3 meetings, right? So I just think being more, having more communication and more vehicles other than just the board meeting is also important. So, thank you.
If I can just clarify one thing. As far as the email that'll go out, the blast about the final application, it's only going out to the 120 people that were eligible for subscription busing that have not responded. Okay, because if you didn't receive anything, you're not getting anything. Understand that. So it's only going out to the people who have not responded either way. I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Appreciate that clarification.
Okay.
Anyone else? Do you have another sister?
Come on.
As a brother of 3 sisters, I do the same.
If you don't mind, I want to acknowledge the HSA members that came here. We take part in the HSA meetings, at least I do as the liaison between the board and the HSA, and I think it's very important to acknowledge the fact that they're doing a lot for our community and a lot for our kids. And, I went to the last meeting and I asked them to come, and I just want to say thank you guys very much for doing so, because it means a lot that we're working together and you're here to support, the board, the administration, but most importantly, the district and the children, because I think that's everyone's overall goal and best interest. And so thank you. Thank you very much for the Yeah, we have a lot of vice presidents.
Can you, if you don't mind, because, not being, with the child in the district, do do you mind coming up and just introducing yourself so everyone knows who the HSA reps are?
Just keep in mind, that was Pat that asked for that. I was leaving it at a thank you.
This is good comments.
Yeah.
Good.
Hi, I'm Melinda Street. I'm one of the co-presidents. Camila Zito, recording secretary. Cynthia Carvalho, co-vice president.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else, or can we end it on a high note? All right, well, thank you, everyone. Our next board meeting will be April 28th, 7 p.m. here, and that is the final budget presentation, the approved budget. For those who celebrate, happy Easter, and have a good evening.
Thank you all very much.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion?
All in favor?